Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of Until It Ran Into Me. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the 6th installment of the Until It Ran Into Me podcast. I am your host, Brittany. I realize that I never introduce myself in the beginning of these, and I feel like I should actually do that from now on, so moving forward, I will do that. Welcome in. This episode, titled My Brother's Keeper, is going to be about my oldest brother. We will be referring to him as A in this episode. If I, at any point, mention his name. Some things have transpired this week. Not very positive things, if I'm being honest, that have inspired me to completely wipe my original plan for episode 6 and to make it what it is now going to be right now. So, to start this off, back in June, I originally got I remember I was sitting on my bed and I was watching something. I think it might have been a TikTok video or something, and I got inspired to write what I'm about to read to you right now about my brother. And if there's one thing I've learned is that when I get the urge or the need feeling to write something down or to take out a notebook, immediately do so. 1, because I'll forget it if I don't, and 2, it's obviously happening for a reason. It may have been a song, it may have been just a video, but it got me thinking about my brother and missing him and kind of reminiscing and missing seeing him. I haven't seen him since I went out to the East Coast to visit in 2015. It's nothing really groundbreaking, but I did like the way that it came out. It was very spur of the moment type of thing. I want to read this, and then we will go from there. This episode might be a bit all over the place, because I don't really have a structure for it necessarily. I found that trying to plan this out by writing it down was very difficult in the way that I normally do, which is I break out the little notebook I have for this, and I kind of map everything out, and then what I want to talk about, how I want to talk about it. It just didn't flow. So, I think that if I just sit down and talk, let everything just flow organically, and not go off of a piece of paper, that maybe we'll get somewhere this time. Some things you can expect from this episode is that I'm going to talk about my brother. I'm going to talk about having a sibling with autism, my experience with that. I want to talk about he and I's dynamic with our parents, both now and in the past. I want to talk about just him and I, him alone, my brother. He's someone I hold very dear to me, and I feel like I owe him this for many reasons. This feels like it needs to be talked about, so here we go. Also, first and foremost, I want to insert a trigger warning here for mentions of threats of violence in this episode and mentions of suicide in this episode, so please proceed with caution. Let's get into episode 6 of Until It Ran Into Me. My brother was born on June 7th, 1995, to my mom and my dad. He turned 30 years old this year. On his birthday, I posted the Instagram post that everyone does for important people in their lives. It read, "Happy birthday to my not-so-little oldest little brother. I love you to the moon and back. I truly believe the universe gave us to one another, and I'm so thankful for that. For you, I hold you so dear. Doesn't it seem like just yesterday we were just kids playing video games together, playing in the pool in the summertime, chasing each other around Papa's yard in North Carolina, playing hide and seek over and over again at Kid Me's insistence. Sorry. I can still hear your little kid voice yelling, 'Sister.' I still listen to our song all the time. Things are different now, and I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for a lot of things. But just know I love you with all my heart, and no matter where I am. I wish I could have been there today. I hope you know how truly loved and special and cherished you are, to not only myself, but many others. Happy birthday, brother. Sister." My brother A is the oldest of my 3 youngest brothers. With dirty blonde hair and brown eyes, he's the perfect genetic mixture of my mom and my dad. I see them both when I look at his face. Our nicknames for each other growing up were brother and sister. We never called each other by our actual names. Whenever he called me Brittany, it bothered me. As we got older, we modernized it to bro and sis. I was born on May 5th, a week before Mother's Day. He was born on June 7th, a week before Father's Day. Growing up, I was very protective of him. He was a child when he was diagnosed with autism. Once when we were kids, I threatened to beat up a kid on the playground who asked rudely, "Why does he do that?" This was because he did a behavior associated with autism called arm flapping. I can recall the memory vividly, and even now, at 32 years old, I still want to kick that kid's ass. When we moved back from the East Coast to California in 2007, I recall a memory of meeting him at the quad at our school in between classes. As we parted ways to go to our separate classes, my eyes filled with tears and anxiety and worry flooded me. Would he be okay? Would kids be nice to him? I was terrified. It would be yet another occurrence in my own and our lives where I felt like I'd failed to protect him. The bare minimum as a sister. We grew up in a dysfunctional family. Our mother had us at 23 and 25 years old. We were both emotional punching bags in our own ways, and our parents were our first bullies. When we were 4 and 6, our dad got together with our stepmother. Growing up, my brother and I were thick as thieves, playing together, laughing together, growing up in a house full of yelling and screaming, fighting. Everyone argued over my brother, custody of him, who he belonged to, who he rightfully belonged to. Looking back, I can recall jealousy and even a tinge of resentment about that. My brother, who shared the same last name as my father, while I carried my mom's maiden name. My brother, who was the perfect mixture of my mom and my dad. I couldn't compare, and I felt it. In the midst of all of the fighting and the screaming and the chaos, we were each other's anchors. And that is where it ended. Now that I read that, I believe that I wrote that after he had turned 30, obviously. So I think I was just reflecting on the fact that my brother is now in his 30s. Which is wild, because I think I can speak for a lot of people, especially older siblings, when you think of your little brother, your little sister, to them in your mind, they're always little, and they're kids, and he's not a kid anymore. He hasn't been a kid for a long time, but I think that's the thing that we all have in common as the oldest sibling. My brother is, to put it the best I can, my brother is magic. Not only does he have a wicked sense of humor, which reminds me of my mom and my dad, because they both have that really great sense of humor. They're both very quick with their comebacks. They both have great one-liners, things like that. He's incredibly intelligent. He's one of the smartest people I know. He is just a beautiful soul. He's too good for this world. He's so insightful in a way that I don't think a lot of people know, because just from conversations we've had, he's incredibly insightful, and he can read people very well in situations. With that, he's also very blunt and will tell it how it is. He's just a good guy. He's the best thing to come out of the shitstorm that was my mom and my dad's relationship. The world is a better place with him in it. Before we get into anything, I want to discuss autism. The definition of autism, what is it, the signs, symptoms, just some information. I'm going to be reading this from autismspeaks.org. Autism, or autism spectrum disorder, ASD, refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and nonverbal communication. According to the Centers for Disease Control, autism affects an estimated 1 in 31 children and 1 in 45 adults in the United States today. Autism looks different for everyone, and each person with autism has a distinct set of strengths and challenges. Some autistic people can speak, while others are nonverbal or minimally verbal and communicate in other ways. Some have intellectual disabilities, while some do not. Some require significant support in their daily lives, while others need less support and, in some cases, live entirely independently. On average, autism is diagnosed around age 5 in the U.S., with signs appearing by age 2 or 3. Current diagnostic guidelines in the DSM-5-TR break down the ASD diagnosis into 3 levels, based on the amount of support a person might need. Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. Anybody can be autistic regardless of sex, age, race, or ethnicity. However, research from the CDC says that boys get diagnosed with autism 4 times more often than girls. According to the DSM-5-TR, the diagnostic manual for ASD, autism may look different in girls and boys. Girls may have more subtle presentation of symptoms, fewer social and communication challenges, and fewer repetitive behaviors. Their symptoms may go unrecognized by doctors, often leading to underdiagnosis or misdiagnosis. Getting a diagnosis is also harder for autistic adults, who often learn to mask or hide their autism symptoms. Autism is a lifelong condition, and an autistic person's needs, strengths, and challenges may change over time. As they transition through life stages, they may need different types of support and accommodations. Early intervention and therapies can make a big difference in a person's skills and outcomes later in life. Children and adults with autism may have difficulty with social interaction and communication skills, particularly in these 3 areas. 1. Social interactions. Starting and taking turns in conversations, sharing interests or emotions, understanding what others are thinking or feeling. 2. Communication. Making eye contact, understanding other people's body language, gestures, and facial expressions. Regulating tone of voice. They may speak too loudly, too quietly, and or with a monotone voice. 3. Developing, maintaining, and understanding relationships. Expressing feelings and seeking emotional comfort from others. Making friends and playing with peers. Understanding boundaries and personal space. Feeling overwhelmed in social situations. Restricted and repetitive behaviors vary greatly across the spectrum. To get an autism diagnosis, a person must show at least 2 types of these behaviors: repetitive movements, play, or speech patterns; stimming or making repetitive body movements to regulate emotions, rocking, hand flapping, spinning, running back and forth; lining up toys in a row, spinning wheels, repeatedly flipping switches; imitating another person's speech, repeating words or phrases; insistence on sameness and need for routine; extreme stress at even small changes in plan or routine; ritualistic behaviors, like watching the same videos over and over, repeatedly touching objects in a set order; need for routine, same daily schedule, meal menu, clothes, route to school; intense and highly focused interests, extreme interest or knowledge of specific narrow topics, strong attachment to a certain object, like a toy or figurine; under or over sensitivity to sensory stimulation; sensory differences like unusual sensitivity to light, sound, touch, or texture; lack of sensitivity to pain or temperature; sensory seeking behaviors like smelling or touching of objects, visual fascination with lights or movement. Autism characteristics. People may also show other characteristics of autism. These might include using other kinds of communication besides spoken language, like typing on a computer, pointing to pictures on a tablet, or communicating through behavior; difficulty with executive functioning, like planning how to complete a task, juggling multiple tasks, making decisions; trouble with fine motor skills and coordination; needing help with daily living skills; difficulty regulating and or communicating emotions, sometimes resulting in harmful or self-injurious behaviors, sensory overload, meltdowns, or shutdowns. Now, a few of these stood out the most to me about my brother. Mostly rocking, hand flapping. There was a lot of repetitive behaviors with my brother as well. Like, he would watch the same videos over and over again. He would repeat a lot of things over and over again, phrases, things like that, words. And I would also qualify that as ritualistic behaviors. Those were his ritualistic behaviors, I think. He also, I remember sensitivity to pain. Like, he would maybe, I'm gonna say, over exaggerate pain to something. He also was extremely particular about food. He was very, very picky. However, as he got older, and this is family intervention, he was much more open-minded to food, and today he eats way, way more than he did as a kid. There's a lot more variety, and he's much more at ease trying new things to eat. He's very open-minded now, more so than when he was a kid. Also, and I don't know if this qualifies or if this groups with anything that I mentioned, he always struggled with the length of time with things. Like, if it took like an hour, he would say, oh, it was like 20 minutes or something like that. I don't know if that really qualifies, but that's sticking out in my brain now. His perception of time was just skewed. While preparing for this episode, I spent some time just poking around and doing my research on autismspeaks.org. And there was this one sentence that kind of stuck out to me, and it was, half the challenges of emotion regulation as an autistic person is finding a place to be able to do it. Like a safe place. Because obviously out in public, people are fucking mean and horrible and non-human. And, you know, I think he did it around all of us because he felt safe. And he was safe to do so. But that sentence just kind of stuck out to me. Filming this has been so emotional for me. And, like, I can't believe I'm like crying on the internet, but it just has been bringing up a lot of childhood memories, and I don't get to see my brother every day, so I think a part of me just wishes I had a time machine to just go back and like spend some time with him. Because like living so far away has, you can't see him every day, and with the conflict with the family, it's even harder. So yeah, sorry for my crying and whatnot, but this is just all really taking me back to when we were kids. And now that I'm older, because I'll be honest, I've been guilty of not doing my full research on my brother being on the spectrum, and I feel very like guilty about that. There's even some shame with that. I feel like I haven't, because he's always been that way to me, so I think, oh, I understand him. And obviously now that I look into it and I do my research and I learn more, like, there's so many layers to autism, and I think that autism is spoken of in such a way that it's generalized, and there's really so many different kinds of autism. There's so many different behaviors and signs, symptoms, and I think it's just now, as I prepared for this episode, how it's just now washing over me, and that I feel like I'm not conveying myself correctly. It's just very eye-opening. That's the best way to put it. This whole thing has been very eye-opening, and I'm upset that it's taken me this long to really do the work to understand it, and him, and all that he's been through and goes through, especially when he was younger, because the younger version of my brother is a lot different than the older version of my brother. Mind you, there's a lot of similarities. He's grown a lot. Now that he's gotten older, I think a lot of that just had to do with family intervention, having great teachers, having the support and the safety that he did have. I think that's a majority of it. He's grown a lot, and I just wish that younger me would have been more proactive in learning. But let's continue. As far as him being diagnosed, I couldn't remember that because I was really young, like really, really young. So I had to ask my mom, and she actually responded, and she sent me a text message, and it said, as far as I remember, we took him to teach in North Carolina about 6 months after we got there. Sidebar: teaches an autism program that provides clinical services that are tailored to meet the unique needs of each autistic individual and their family. Services available in our 7 regional teach centers include diagnostic evaluations, intervention therapy services, support groups, education, and consultation. She continues on in the message, and the reason we had it done was because he was withdrawn in class, wanted to play by himself, rocked and flapped his arms when he was happy, and he stopped talking at about 1.5 years. You were the only kid he wanted to play with or even be around. He would also look at things from the side of his vision, and he loved Shania Twain. That was actually another thing that he really liked. He really loved Shania Twain. I mean, who doesn't? Let's be real, she's an icon. But I have a lot of memories of him, like, playing her music videos and, like, listening to her music, and, like, he loved her. So shout out to Shania Twain. And to this day, whenever I hear Shania Twain, I listen to her pretty often. I think about my brother. I have to say that reading that, like, really got to me. Ooh. Oh, this is embarrassing. Oh, get it together. Pull it together. Whew. We moved to North Carolina when I believe I was 8, so my brother's 2 years younger than me, so he would have been 6. Initially, we went to the same elementary school. They eventually ended up building a school closer to the house that we lived in, so I ended up transferring to that school after its completion. And my brother ended up staying behind because I did get held back in the 3rd grade. When we moved, I had a lot of issues because the curriculum was completely different on the East Coast than it was on the West Coast, and I struggled greatly, so I ended up getting held back. So I went to this new school. And my brother stayed behind at the one we were originally at because he had all this stuff set up, he was settled, he had a great teacher, and they were able to give him the help that he needed. And I have a lot of really good memories from that time of us just being kids and doing kid things, like some of the stuff I mentioned and what I read. My brother is very into video games. I remember playing video games with him quite a lot. I kind of avoided it when I was, like, really little because I just wasn't interested in it most of the time. But there were some times when I would get really into it with him, and I really enjoyed just spending time with him like that because we would have a lot of fun and we would laugh our asses off, and it was just a lot of fun to play with him. He did sometimes get very competitive, And he would hate when he would lose. He would get very upset when he lost, so that was a lot of the reason why I didn't want to. But when things were good and he was like happy to play with someone else and he didn't mind, it was a good time. We played, what did we play? We played a lot of PS1 games. My grandpa ended up bringing home a PS1 shortly after we moved to North Carolina, so that was like, I think, the introduction to his love for it. We played like a lot of Frogger, a lot of Crash Bandicoot, a lot of, what else did we play? Like Jak and Daxter. We played, there was this one game that is at the forefront of my memory because we played it all the time. It was called Army Men 3D. That was always fun. We played Grand Theft Auto at very young ages. That was more my thing though. Like that was still to this day, I love Grand Theft Auto. We played The Sims. I've always loved The Sims. He didn't really love it as much as I did when we were kids. I know when he got older he did, but that was always my thing. What else? We played Spyro a lot together. I'm sure there's more, but I can't think of them right now. But there's a lot of good memories with playing video games together as kids for me. We would play in the yard. We had a pool every summer that my dad would put up pretty much, and we would play in there whenever we got the chance. I remember going in there when it was super cold in the morning a couple times, which looking back is crazy, but like we loved that. We had a big yard, so we played outside quite a bit, watching movies together. There's actually, in that thing that I shared that I wrote about him, that I said that I still listen to our song to this day. There's a movie that came out in 1997. It's animated, and it's called Annabelle's Wish. I didn't know how to explain Annabelle's Wish, so I looked it up. Annabelle's Wish is a 1997 American direct-to-video animated Christmas film that revolves around a young calf who aspires to fly and become one of Santa Claus's reindeer. Annabelle, a calf, is born on Christmas Eve in the rural farming community of Two Bridge, Tennessee. Upon meeting Santa Claus, who gives the animals a speaking voice for just one day, she becomes fascinated with his reindeer and their ability to fly and wishes to fly herself. Having been granted the temporary ability to speak, she befriends farmer Charles Charlie Baker's grandson Billy, who has been a mute since he inhaled smoke from a barn fire, which also claimed the lives of his parents. And there's a song in that movie that him and I consider our song. And it's called Friends Like Us. It is by Randy Travis and Beth Nielsen Chapman. It's a great song, but it's always reminded me of me and him. But along with the good memories, there's also just as many not so great ones. There's one in particular with my brother that I think about quite often. I don't remember exactly what we were doing, where we were going, but I remember me and my brother and my mom and my dad were in the car. My dad was driving, my mom was in the passenger seat, me and my brother were in the back. I was sitting behind my mom in the back seat. My mom and my dad did what they always did, and they were fighting about something. I don't remember what it was. At one point they stop and they pull over to continue arguing. And this is when we lived in North Carolina. My parents were separated. Like, my dad was married to a whole ass other person. Yeah. But they were doing what they always do. My dad is holding a thing of water in his hand, some ice water. And now that I think about it, I think the argument had something to do with my brother, but I don't remember what exactly. But nevertheless, they're going back and forth. My dad keeps going because that's what my dad does. He doesn't shut the fuck up. He just says the same thing over and over again. And keeps going and going. But eventually he, in the fucking blink of an eye, he just takes the cup of water, the ice water, and he chucks it at my brother's face and just covers him in it. And he laughs. My dad laughs. And my mom, I remember, had, in my opinion, a very underwhelming reaction, as she always does, to when her children are being tormented or bullied by this man. She, kind of gives them, why did you do that? No. And I'm sitting there, and I'm in fucking complete shock. I don't know what to do. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and also my mom having her, just not as, she should have reacted a lot more severe, to put it mildly. She should have, if that were me, oh my goodness, I would have fucking lost my mind on him. But she just, why did you do that? No. And my brother's in tears. He bursts into tears as soon as it happens. He's crying. I'm sat there frozen in the seat next to him. At one point, they get out of the car to continue fighting, and they're on the side of the road. Me and my brother are sitting in the car, and I'm trying to, comfort him and console him and make him calm down. Because my mom and my dad are just having it out on the side of the road in this town in North Carolina, and it's just, insanity. Another memory is that we're all seated at the table. I'm sitting, because my grandpa usually sat at the head of the table. I sat on the opposite, at the head of the table. My brother is sitting next to me on my right, and my mom is sitting next to him. At one point, my dad and her start bickering at each other, and then they start arguing, and it just grows and grows. And at one point, my dad stands up from the table. And I'm just eating. Like, this is like a normal thing. Like, I'm trying to just, like, ignore the situation, make it go away. It's like a trauma response, whatever. Because I've been through this a million times. I know they'll have their thing, and then they'll go. I'm just waiting for the blow up, because I know that they'll have that, and then eventually it'll taper down, and everyone will scatter and go away. And then my dad will wake up the next day and act like everything's fine again. Anyway, we're sitting at the table. They're going back and forth, and then my mom stands up too, and behind us, where the table was, is like, it's surrounded by windows. And it's funny, because I can remember just eating my green beans. I remember I was eating green beans. It was part of the dinner that we had. And they're going back and forth, and my dad threatens to put my mom through the window, which is fucking insane. And my mom did egg him on and be like, oh, do it, no, do it. And, like, why are you doing that in front of your kids? And I don't remember my brother's exact reaction. I'm pretty sure he was taken into another room or something like that. I think that's what occurred. But I ended up throwing up afterward because it was so, like, the thing with me is since I've been a kid, all my anxiety goes to my stomach. And any type of conflict, any type of arguing in front of me, like, I get a stomach ache, and it's bad. And it's been that way since I was a kid, since I was around all that. It's something I do. All my stress goes to my stomach, and I ended up throwing up. And also to this day, at 32 years old, when people argue in front of me, I get the same feelings I did back then. And yeah, we just had to see so many things that kids shouldn't have to see, and hear things that kids shouldn't have to hear. This episode isn't centered around me and my dad, but my dad and I had a moment in time where I pretty much, as a kid, talked him out of unaliving himself, which was a time. He probably doesn't even remember that. But it happened when he was hammered one night. That was me, though. That wasn't my brother. I don't even think my brother was in the room at the time. He might have been asleep with my mom or something, but I don't think he was around. That was a me thing. But I'd rather me hear it than my brother at the end of the day. You know, like, I'll take that and hold it, because that's something that you shouldn't have to deal with as a kid. And I would never want my brother to have to deal with that. I would be surprised if he has dealt with that, knowing how our dad is, but hopefully he hasn't. And hopefully I'm the only one who got to deal with that, because that was traumatic. As he got older, my brother would be threatened to be kicked out by my dad. Like, things like that. He would just say the most vile shit to him. And I don't understand how you could do that to your son. But my dad can and does. And I wouldn't be surprised if he still does that to this day. My stepmom is a whole other type of, I don't even know the word to use. She has treated my brother a certain way for as long as my memory allows me to remember. She is the same person my dad is. She's evolved into just the woman version of him. She, in my opinion, definitely treated my brother as a stereotypical stepchild, while simultaneously claiming him as her own, which I always felt was a little bit sick. And she, along with my dad, put on a front of a very loving family. And honestly, that is very far from the truth of things. I think that they have put up a facade to other members of our family, friends, what have you, of who they are, and they're all being totally fooled. I feel like my brother was very much used as, he was made to be the villain in his own ways. I feel like I've been made to be the villain in the family, and so is he in his own ways. She definitely takes a lot of credit for helping him as far as his autism goes, and for helping him in school and all those things. I feel like she's also been an abuser to him. And not only emotionally, she has, from what I know, through certain people, been physical with him. That's all allegedly. But I don't doubt it for a second. I've never seen it for myself. In my opinion, I think she has resentment for the fact that my brother is my mom and my dad's biological son. my brother has my dad's name. I think that it's because my brother kind of looks like my mom. I think that's also where I'm going to say animosity comes from. I think she's incredibly bitter about that. I think she always has been. I think that because from a very early age, we were told to call my stepmom mom. I never agreed with it. I never thought it was okay. We also were told to hide the fact that we were not my stepmom's biological children. So for my youngest brothers, it was hidden from them for quite some time that we had a different mom than them. I always disagree with that. I thought it was extremely fucked up. I feel like my stepmom kind of wrote in and just took over everything and like turned my dad's brain to mush. I'll never understand why. I don't understand what the deal is. I don't know what it is, but I feel like she came in and took over everything and changed my family completely. Not saying they were perfect to begin with, because they absolutely weren't, but she definitely added an element of just something negative. And my dad just let her, just allowed it to happen. We were told to call her mom. I never agreed with it. I thought it was bullshit. I thought that my dad was being incredibly just trying to erase my mother from the picture. My mother's not perfect. She's the furthest thing from fucking perfect, and I'll be the first one to say it. I felt like it was immensely disrespectful to just erase her like that. And I think it says a lot about him as a person to feel like that is okay to do. But I will say that I think that my mom and my dad are a lot alike in the sense of they think that if you don't see something, then it'll just go away, or it doesn't exist at all. But I feel like if this were him and it was another man coming in and my brother was calling him dad, that would be a huge issue. Because one thing about my dad is he's very possessive and he's very controlling, and that would be two things at once, and his brain would probably literally fucking explode if that happened. Like, he would lose his mind. And I think that with my dad, he really struggles with putting himself in other people's shoes in certain situations. Things that he should definitely think about, he does not think about, or even consider. And that's part of the problem as well, because I know that if the situation was reversed, he would not have it 100%. But what my dad wants and thinks is what he thinks, and he doesn't care about anything else, just what is in his brain at the time. We were always used as pawns, and we were always, my dad, quote-unquote, owned my brother. I was always with my mom, because I was young and I didn't understand that my mom had her own shit, but I always took my mom's side. My brother was quite literally signed over to my dad. My mom literally filled out a piece of paper one night on my grandpa's dinner table, signed it, gave it to my dad, and that was the custody agreement between them, to give custody to my dad fully. If I recall correctly, the reason for them doing that is because we were moving back to California from North Carolina, and my dad wanted my brother to be with him from there on out, and therefore separate him from my mom. He wanted sole custody, and my mom agreed to it. So she did it. And I am so disappointed that my mom didn't fight harder for my brother, that she was so complacent and so easily to go with whatever my dad wanted. And honestly, it's made me see her as very weak. And I never understood the power my dad had over her, that she would do that. Now, in retrospect, knowing what was to come when we moved back here and what I went through with her, I don't think he got the better off deal, so to speak, because my dad is a whole other beast and whole other thing, and I don't even think that he knows about that. The events of him being quite literally signed over to my dad, if that's what went down. I can so remember vividly in my mind this image of standing in the living room looking at them gathered around my grandpa's table, and it's dark, and they're standing around. There's a piece of notebook, one of those little notebook papers, and sitting on the table, and my mom is writing something. Yeah, that's insane that even happened, and I can't believe that I can remember that, but I remember it being talked about, and I remember when they actually did it. And I remember the look on my dad's face, and how he just swiped the paper away from her, and how my mom cried and was upset, and just yeah. I went out there to visit in, I think, 2015. It may have been 2014. My memory is kind of shitty with that. I went out there to visit, and the dynamic was my dad was still drinking. He was turning into an asshole when he would drink, because he always does. And my stepmom kind of treated my brother as the maid, in my opinion. He had to do everything for my little brothers, my stepmom and my dad. He Like, obviously, you should have, like, things you have to do around the house and certain responsibilities. I feel like they kind of just did it because they didn't want to do it, and he's the oldest one because I'm not there, so why not just have him do it? Yeah, the dynamics there were and my stepmom was very, like, rude to him and very mean and quick to be irritated, quick to snap on him. Just a very short fuse when it came to him, and I didn't really understand why. She was very snappy, and I feel like my dad did not stick up for him nor protect him in the way that a father should. I think he kind of just let her do, not even kind of, he just let her do whatever she wanted. And that is one of the many reasons why I don't have respect for him. I don't respect him as a dad, as a man, as someone who should be a protector for his family, because my dad has failed at that. I'm not sure why he didn't have the balls to tell her what he should have told her. I mean, at the end of the day, he shouldn't have been with someone like that, period, but he also co-signed it, so it's just such a disgusting situation. But it's one of the things that I have that I hold against him, because how dare you let someone come into your family and treat your blood son like that and not stick up for him. I think that's atrocious, to put it so mildly. You know, and one of the top things you're supposed to do as a parent is just provide a safe environment. Both my parents have failed to do that tremendously. That goes as far as emotional safety and physical safety as far as my brother goes. And I think it's just disgusting. And if they wonder why we feel the way that we feel about them, that's one of the reasons why there's such a lack of safety, and there has been our whole lives. And the fact that they just put on this front to everybody around, you know, that they're this healthy, happy, loving family. It's all such a facade, and it's bullshit. And I feel like I'm the only one who has called them out on that and tried to bring that screen down that they have up with themselves. And the one thing that really fucking gets under my skin and bothers me probably the most out of anything is that my dad introduced my brother to drinking, to alcohol. My brother, when I went out to visit, was like drinking wine coolers. And I know, yeah, wine coolers, a lot of people would think, oh, that's not a big deal. Well, to me, it's a big deal. It's alcohol at the end of the day. I can't fathom why my dad would do that. I think, honestly, I'm going to say that I think he did it because my brother has autism and he thought it was funny, which is so fucked up and disgusting and just sick and twisted. I wish I would have said that when me and my dad fell out. Like, I wish this last time, because it's happened so many times. How dare he pass on his addiction to his son? My brother is autistic. He obviously has fixations, and he gets into things, and he sticks with them. It can become a habit, and I have no doubt that my brother still probably drinks with my dad or whatever. But that's the one thing, is that my dad introduced my brother to his addiction, made it a part of his life, and that, I can't even explain how angry that makes me. And how foul that is, and why would you want to do that to your son when you know you have a problem? You know what this shit does to you. That's like something I think about often, is the fact that he did that to him. Because my brother is so much better than that shit. My brother drinking bothers me. Just knowing our family and the history of addiction that runs in our family on both sides, it genuinely scares me. Him being into that stuff. All in all, I think my dad's knowledge of like what that's done to him, just the addiction aspect of it all, like why he would pass on what could potentially be a huge demon to my brother, is appalling. And I hope that he realizes how fucked up it is that he did that. It's not funny, it's not cute, it's not anything. It's a potential problem, and potentially could be a cycle that he could pass on. I think that, you know, he's still in that house with them, and I wish he could get away, and I wish he could live a full life away from them, because they are just energy vampires. My biggest thing is that, like, I feel like I left him there. You know, I got away for my own reasons, and I came back here from North Carolina when I visited there for my own reasons. I feel like I'm miles away from the person I was then. Like, I don't put up with shit. I'm not afraid to say no. My boundaries are fucking hard as steel. They do not waver, which me from a certain amount of time ago, especially with my parents, would have been like they wouldn't even exist. But I feel like all of that, I sacrificed him And that is something I can't really come to terms with. I'm very hard on myself about it. Like, I wonder what he thinks about me. I wonder, like, if he loves me still. I wonder if he's... I wonder if he still thinks of himself as my brother. Because I know that they probably talk so much shit. I know they have, because that's what they do. I know for a fact that they do. About me. But I wonder if he still feels the way about me that he used to, like, if he still has that love for me as a sister, if he still considers me his sister. Because honestly, I feel so untethered to family. I feel so, like, disconnected, and, like, I feel like an island just floating by myself out in the middle of the ocean. And I still feel a connection to him. He's the only person in my family that I really feel a connection to, at least when it comes to that side of my family. But I wonder if it's reciprocated, and that scares the shit out of me. But can I really blame him if he feels anything negative toward me? You know what I mean? I want to backtrack a little bit, and mention that in 2008, my middle brother was born. My stepmom got pregnant, I think shortly after we moved back. I think she hid it for a little bit. My mom would always make comments that she thought she was pregnant, but she ended up confessing that she was. I remember the day very clearly. I remember them coming up to where we were staying when we moved back. We all sat down in a little RV thing that my mom and my brother and I were staying in at the time. Her and my dad sat on the couch. She was sitting on the left of him. She had on, like, this white sweater thing, and she was clearly trying to hide her stomach. And I think my dad was the one that told us. And I remember immediately, like, excusing myself. I went to the bathroom in the house because we had to use the bathroom in the main house. And I burst into tears. I don't think my brother had a reaction. I think I had enough of a reaction for us. I kept it very to myself because I knew that it was going to change things drastically. And I was genuinely worried for the both of us. I was worried if it was going to be a girl and what that dynamic would be like if it was. I did not want a sister. I didn't want my dad to have another girl. I honestly think that me knowing that he wasn't my dad was in the back of my mind then, because I was so afraid of what a girl would do to our relationship. It was already rocky, and I was 14, 15, so I already knew the dynamic between him and I already had a feeling, although I wasn't completely certain what it was, I had a feeling that he wasn't my real dad, and I knew that a biological girl for him would mean that she would get a whole different experience than I had. And my brother, I was worried if it was a boy because, this is my dad's son through marriage. And, I did think about, like, what if, this son could not be autistic. And I truly believe that, my dad had an idea of who his oldest son would be. I don't think my brother really meets what he thought he would be. And that's why he gets treated the way that he does. It's just my opinion. That's never been said, but that's just my opinion. And I wondered what another boy would do, how it would make my brother feel, how my dad would behave, how their dynamic would be, how it would change. It genuinely worried me and scared me. All the things like that. Just stuff like that. I remember thinking about, like, my brother already has my dad's name. What would a son from a marriage be like, and how would he be treated compared to my brother if he doesn't have autism, because my brother's autism was, in my opinion, definitely weaponized against him. My brother was born, and I love him too. I love him to pieces. He's my brother, 100%. My other brother, my third brother, would follow in 2009. I do feel like the relationship with my brothers, my little brothers, and with A was different. I think that the younger ones got away with a lot more than we would have. I know that younger siblings tend to, like, get away with a lot of things because they're the babies, but I feel like my dad definitely treated them differently. They were exposed to the alcoholism also, which breaks my heart. The way that my dad talks to my stepmom when they would argue, which was, like, literally Groundhog Day from the way he was with my mother. Up until they were well broken up and I was older, they had to witness that, and I feel really bad for them because no kid should see that or hear it. And I would be lying if I said that there wasn't a different bond with my younger brothers than there is my oldest brother. Like, the love is the same, it's still there, like, those are my boys, and they'll always be my boys, but there's definitely something that's different that I can't really quite put my finger on. Maybe it's now that I know that my dad is my biological dad, maybe there's, like, a feeling of loss there in a way, I guess, because I definitely feel that with A, too, because now that makes us biologically half siblings, even though they're all my brothers, love them to pieces, they're mine, they'll be mine forever for the rest of time. I'd be lying if they said there wasn't certain feelings there that are really sad for me and make me feel a certain way. And now that my brothers, my youngest ones, are teenagers, I haven't seen them since they were actual kids when I went out to visit. And although I've gotten pictures, I think that the disconnect has gotten worse. Because I'm so sad that I've missed out on so many things, and that the family being how it is has made me miss out on those things, and how they've had to suffer because of all the bullshit between me and them. It's very unfortunate, and it's heartbreaking, and it's one of those things where I feel, once again, like I had to sacrifice them and leave them behind, because I know what they're going through, and they shouldn't have to go through what they have to go through with them. And I don't remember what year it was. I think it was right after COVID, maybe before then. I found out that my brother had a stroke through a Facebook post. It wasn't initially told to me directly. It was something somebody posted on Facebook, either my stepmom or my dad, and that's how I found out that my brother had a stroke. I was angry at first, but worry kind of overrode that emotion, and I was just super worried about him. I ended up messaging one of them, got a phone call, answered that, and we talked about it. I remember I was at work, and I sat outside down the way a little bit outside of a bagel shop and talked to them about it. That was insane. The fact that I had to find out about a Facebook post was so inappropriate and not fair. And I don't care if I'm, like, distant or whatever, or we have issues going on. Like, you should have told me immediately. I remember calling my mom, our biological mom, and telling her, and that was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Her and my brother don't speak. A lot of that is her doing. My mom has, in my opinion, greatly failed at keeping up a relationship with her son. I also feel like their relationship wasn't exactly encouraged by the other side. It was something that was kind of just let go and died, and that makes me feel very bad, but at the same time, my mom failed greatly. It's also her doing, and it's deeply affected my brother, of course, not having his real mom around, or in his life in general, and I didn't really see that or know of it, the severity of it, until I went out there to visit, because he feels abandoned by her, and he was, and so was I. You know, he doesn't, it's traumatic. And we have so much common ground in that area, although a lot of it's different. We do have a lot of common ground in that area that I can't even lean on him, and he can't lean on me, because we're so far away, and so many things have transpired between me and them that have led to this disintegration of relationships. And that's fucking horrible. And honestly, now that I'm talking about that now, I haven't even really thought about that myself, and it's kind of hitting me like a train. Like, me and my brother could lean on each other and help heal each other. Or at least, you know, have an understanding between us of, like, our mom is not here or around. You know, just have that support system with each other because of this really messed up thing that we have in common. It's just so unfortunate. But I think my dad was the one that told me to tell her, and I would have told her anyway because that's her son, but I think it was told by my dad that you should tell your mom. And, you know, I think about this, that if, God forbid, and thank God it didn't happen, that my brother passed on, I have no doubt that my dad would have made me tell my mom. I don't think he would have told her himself. And I think that would have been incredibly unfair and messed up. Like, this is y'all's kid. You made him. How dare you, like, make me tell my mom that her son is gone. And thank God that didn't happen. But I did think about that a lot afterward. But I had to tell my mom. And I told her, and she obviously freaked out. I gave her as many updates as I was able to. but like our relationship is so rocky that we fell off again for whatever reason. That time is very like blurry to me. I think to close this out, I'm going to speak directly to you, bro, if you can hear me. I don't know if you know about this. I don't know who has said anything to you. I'm sure you've overheard things because you're incredibly observant. I created this podcast to talk about our family and the things that they've done, the effects that they've had. It's just the truth that I never got to speak. It's the truth I never got to speak when we were kids. I felt very silenced, very controlled. It's been very healing, but it's also just cracked me wide open in a lot of different ways as well. But I feel like no matter what, it's necessary and something that I should do. And I think that everything has just led me to doing this. And as much as a creative outlet as this is, it's also part of the healing journey of everything. And not just family, but everything I've ever encountered in life that's cracks me open, made me feel less than, things like that. I love you very much. I meant what I said when you were the best thing that ever came from Mom and Dad. Speaking of Mom, I just want you to know that Mom loves you very much. She's just very messed up. She has been for quite some time, and I think that she won't, and doesn't know how to pull herself out of it, which is unfortunate. I feel like when it comes to our relationship and our dynamic with her, I feel like I've been mourning someone who's still alive for a very, very, very long time, and you have just been waiting for her to come back. Or maybe you're not waiting for her to come back. Maybe you feel the same way. I don't know. I've never discussed that with you, but this is just from the outside looking in. She's not going to come back. She's gone. And that is something that I have been trying to digest for a very long time. I feel like I've gotten better with accepting it, but there are times when I just want my mom, and I go back, and it's the same cycle all over again. And I don't know how to wake her up. I think that's kind of a lost cause, honestly, now, which is hard to say out loud, but it's true. She's not here for me. She's not here at all, and that's probably never going to be different. And it's unfortunate for the two of us because we both need our mom. And I often wonder if you think that she's not here for you, but she's here for me. And that's not the case. She's not here at all. There are a lot of things that went down when we moved back here, when you went with Dad, that I had to go through with her. And I would take that on a million times again, so you didn't have to see it or deal with it. But just know that it wasn't okay, and she's not who she used to be, if that's even who she ever was. You know, reality is kind of distorted in that way. And I'm sorry that she just left. It's nothing that you did. I hope you don't think that that's the case, but it's nothing you did. It was all her, and you deserve so much better than that. So much better than that. And as for Dad, he has his own demons. Drinking is his outlet. It's his comfort. It's how he deals with things. He rages from it and then just doesn't care about how it affects other people. He'll never change. And that's something else that I've accepted as well. And the fact that he's passed that pastime onto you is infuriating to me. You're so much better than that shit. You don't need that shit. And I have a pretty good inkling that the whole reason that you do it is to find some common ground with him, to bond with him. Maybe. I'm not totally sure, but that's what I feel like. I think that's how you keep some sort of peace with him. I think about you every day. I love you dearly. I miss you. I think we were robbed of so many things, not only from moving back here from the East Coast, but also just by our parents and the dynamics that we had to deal with them. And the unnecessary drama and the stress and just the dysfunction. I hope that we can reconnect in the future. I hope that you and I can have a relationship because we need each other and we understand each other, and I just need my brother. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to protect you like I should. I know that I failed, and it's very prevalent, and I think about it every single day. I'm sorry that I had to leave you behind to get to where I am now. I'm sorry that Mom did what she did. I'm sorry that we share that in common to an extent. I'm sorry that I can't give you what I should be able to give you, and that I'm not far enough in life or in the right position in life to give you what you deserve. I love you, bro. And I'm always here no matter where I am. No matter what anyone says, it'll always be you and I. Do you remember the chorus in our song? It says, seasons come and seasons go, and the world keeps rolling round. You've got me and I've got you, and that's the sweetest thing we found. It takes a little time to find a heart you really trust. It'll take you to forever, and make you friends like us. And that is episode 6, Up Until It Ran Into Me, my brother's keeper. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's listened, who has interacted with me in any regard. Sometimes these are hard to record, but I think it's really good for me to just let it out. It's very healing. It can provide a lot of breakthroughs, and it makes me remember things I forgot, or I have those aha moments about certain things, and there's clarity, and that's why I love doing this. One of the reasons why I love doing this. So thank you guys for tuning in, for lending me your ears as always. If you would like to follow the podcast, keep up with it, the directory to find where to find me will be at the very end of this episode. As always, I hope you're having a lovely week, a lovely day, and I will see you on the next episode of Until It Ran Into Me. Bye! Thank you for tuning into this episode of Until It Ran Into Me. Listen to new episodes and other news. You can visit my website at buzzsprout.untilitranintome.com. You can follow me on Instagram at Until It Ran Into Me Podcast. And in my bio on Instagram, you can find my link tree that leads to all of my other social media platforms that I'm on. So please give those a follow. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.